morning. The reading this morning will be from Philippians 4:10 through 13. Rejoiced in the Lord greatly that now at length you have revived your concern for me. Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound in any and every circumstance. I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me.
You may be seated. Good morning, everyone. So we had a great time at the Taylors yesterday, us being me and the teens and everyone else that helped with the teen retreat. I had the opportunity of piloting a cardboard boat. There's a video of that on Facebook, so if you haven't seen that, I didn't know that cardboard and duct tape was buoyant, but guess what? I didn't sink, so I was really happy about that because I was prepared to get cold and wet. It was a great weekend. Really thankful for them for helping with that. All right, sermon mode. The air thick with moisture, heavy clouds everywhere. From the outside looking in, Dagobah looked like any other planet. But as the X-Wing dipped into the planet, with the clouds so thick around it, there was instant doubt. And then all of a sudden, there were trees, moss, swamps all around. And then bam, there was water everywhere. A crash landing. No turning back. They were stuck. 2 Samuel 22:33 says, "For who is God but the Lord? And who is a rock except our God? This God is my strong refuge and has made my way blameless." So if you're following along in the Bible, go ahead and take your finger and stick it in that Bible and bookmark that passage because we'll get back to it, all right? Luke and R2 are stuck. There's no getting out. Yeah, we're talking about Star Wars today, all right? Get ready. There's no getting out. There is only looking for help. Luke is confused. This is an odd place to find a Jedi Master, he says. After looking around, they set up camp and because there's nothing else that can be done. He's lost, confused, and then he realizes that he's being watched. And they are being watched by a small, odd-looking green Muppet with a stick. An unhelpful little creature that gets into things, eats his food, messes with his stuff, and is nice enough to say that he could take them to go see the person they're looking for, Master Yoda. But first they have to come over to his house and eat some food. So maybe you're following along with the story because you're familiar with the story. Maybe you've seen The Empire Strikes Back, and so you can follow along kind of because you recognize who this green little Muppet is. But maybe you're lost and confused, and that's okay. Except that if you're lost and confused, that means you've probably not seen Star Wars, and that's not okay. So fix that. But either way, okay, there is ample analogy in this story that we're going to look at that can bless us as we grow in our spiritual journeys. Let's talk for a moment about Dagobah, okay? Luke crash lands into a swamp planet, and one of the first things that he says is, this is an odd place to find a Jedi Master. It's as if Luke was imagining something else for the dwelling place of a Jedi Master. As if this swamp couldn't be where a Jedi Master could live. Maybe a nice cozy forest or a huge city full of technology, but definitely not a swamp. Definitely not a place where he would crash land in order to get into it, with no back door to escape and no way to get off the planet. He had become fully vested in the situation, whether he wanted to or not. So, here we are, right? One full week into September. And September, I've found in scheduling out my year. Oh, right, I completely skipped this. Sorry. It's important to read the Bible. Psalm 31, 1 through 5 says, good thing you're here, because I would have missed that. In you, O Lord, do I take refuge. Let me never be put to shame. In your righteousness, deliver me. Incline your ear to me, rescue me speedily. Be a rock of refuge for me, a strong fortress to save me. For you are my rock and my fortress, and for your name's sake you lead me and guide me, and take me out of the net they have hidden from me, or for me. For you are my refuge, into your hand I commit your spirit. You have redeemed me, O Lord, faithful God. So if you've bookmarked the first passage, go ahead and take your next finger and bookmark this passage, because we'll come back to it. Okay, so now you have two fingers that are bookmarking two different passages, all right? Okay, so back to September, okay? 1 week into September, okay, and September I found is almost as much of a transition change or a new year of sorts as January is, okay? Kids are going back to school, okay, or you might be going back to school. New programs start. It's football season again. You just may have come back from vacation. So there's usually some sort of transition taking place in September that you're adjusting to. And we even do this at church, okay? So last Sunday, there was that big push because it was the start of a new quarter with new Bible classes, in new locations, with new material, and new things to learn. And maybe if you haven't been all that active at church during the summer for one reason or another, maybe now is when you're getting ready to get engaged again, reconnected, trying to get involved again. Okay, back to Luke. Luke talks to Yoda for a little bit. Yoda offers to help Luke, but Luke doubts that Yoda can really help him because Luke's looking for a great warrior, a Jedi Master. Luke's struggling with the location of Dagobah, a swamp, and the inner feeling that he has that coming here was a big mistake. And then, because of the crash landing, he's then focusing on having to salvage what he can of his ship in order to try to even get out of the swamp, or as he called it, the slimy mud hole that he landed in. His outlook on the situation was affected because it wasn't what he expected. And on top of that, he's now being bothered by a nosy, small, old, shriveled green Muppet with a stick, an antagonist to make the problem seem even worse. And he's looking for a great, powerful Jedi Master somewhere on this huge planet full of swamps, not realizing that what he was looking for actually found him. Exodus 15, 1 and 2. I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider he has thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength and my song, and he has become my salvation. This is my God, and I will praise him, my father's God, and I will exalt him. Okay, so now 3 fingers. You've now bookmarked 3 different passages, or because you're using a digital Bible, you have a history, so you can just flip back if you need to. Okay. Jesus wasn't the Jedi we were looking for. A long time ago in a place called Israel, a question was asked. This is in John chapter 1, 43 through 46. It says, "The next day Jesus decided to go to Galilee, and he found Philip and said to him, 'Follow me.' Now Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, 'We have found him of whom Moses and the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph.' Nathanael said to him, 'Can anything good come out of Nazareth?' Philip said to him, 'Come and see.'" Okay. So Nathanael was a bit like Luke, right? Looking for something in particular as the great teacher, the Messiah, right? And questioning the identity of this man, Jesus, from Nazareth. Because Nazareth, as everyone knew, was the backwoods, the boondocks, a dead-end town. Nothing good ever came out of Nazareth. And nothing good ever would. Especially not the Messiah. And if you really think about it, okay, all the other apostles were kind of in the same boat. You look at Peter, for example, okay? Peter brought a sword to the Garden of Gethsemane where Jesus was going to go pray. Why? Because Peter was looking for a great military leader, someone who was going to overthrow the Romans, hence the sword. But Jesus established his kingdom on earth and in heaven without a single sword. And you know what? He didn't fit the image of the great Messiah that many people had in their minds, and so many people didn't listen to him and chose not to follow him and do what he said. So what about you? What are you looking for? As a Christian, we are all called to contribute to the kingdom of God. But what does that look like? And do you recognize it when you see it? So, what does being called look like? Ministry comes in all shapes and sizes, okay? From writing letters to encourage someone, or taking new members or visitors a loaf of bread to say hi, teaching a Bible class, or simply bringing a friend to church, or being a friend to someone at church. These are all examples of ministries that have already happened here at this church. Thank you for so many of you running and being involved in ministries at this church. That's what makes this church such a great place. But there are so many more ministries that have been done and will be done, and there is an expectation from God for you to be involved in those ministries. But also realize that ministry isn't always in those high technology cities. And they don't always look the way that you thought they would look. And sometimes they take you out of your comfort zone. And you know what? That's okay. Speaking from someone that likes to be in the comfort zone, it's okay to be uncomfortable sometimes. Sometimes you have to go to the swamp to find God. Yoda, who at this point completely unknown to Luke, that he's actually looking for this guy who he's following back to his house. But Yoda takes him back to his house, and at this point, Luke's getting frustrated, okay? He's impatient, he's hungry, he's confused, he's probably cold, he's probably wet. And with all of the questions that Luke asks Yoda, this funny little green guy is responding with him. He's saying, patience. That's the response. Patience, patience. We will find him until Yoda, as if to nobody, says, I cannot train him. He has no patience. And turning to Luke, he says, you always are looking to the future, never focused on where you were, what you were doing, craving adventure, being reckless, having big dreams, large goals, and expecting them just to appear, not working to get them or get there yourself. Later, as Yoda is training Luke, he tells him to feel the force around him, to be mindful, but Luke is continuing to be distracted by different things, especially his ship that's sinking deeper and deeper into the swamp that he's stuck in. And he is certain that it's impossible to get out. And so he doubts the situation that he's in, and therefore will never be successful in it. And Yoda cautions him to never deal in absolutes, especially negative absolutes, because he says that if you deal in negative absolutes, you are destined to fail. Luke says moving stones is one thing, but this ship is completely different. Yoda says, no, it's not different. It's only different in your mind. Luke says, fine, I'll give it a try. And Yoda says, no, do or do not. There is no try. Luke fails to lift the X-Wing out of the swamp and claims it's too big. He just can't do it. And Yoda says size does not matter. He is small, but his ally is the Force, and a powerful ally it is. And he does the impossible and lifts Luke's ship. Philippians 4:10 through 13. I rejoice in the Lord greatly that now at length you have revived your concern for me. You were indeed concerned for me, but you had no opportunity. Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound in any and every circumstance. I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Okay, so these 4 verses that I've told you to go ahead and bookmark. Look at them, okay? And go ahead and look at these 4 verses and see the similarities in these 4 verses. And I've helped a little bit by emboldening some of the words. But if you look in 2 Samuel 22:33, the word strong refuge shows up. In Psalm 31:4, there's the word refuge again. Exodus 15:2, strength. Philippians 4:13, strengthens. God is our strength. Do you believe in the power of God? I hope you do. But I think because of the world that we live in, it's easy for us to say that we believe in his power, but we're not willing or interested in going to a place of uncomfort to receive it, or to experience it, or to see it. So as I said earlier, this is kind of a New Year's of sorts. The church is being encouraged to spend time in the Word daily. Alan and I are encouraging the Tree of Life families to read through the story and take 1 chapter per week. How's that going? We're 1 week in. Are you already behind? Is it maybe a little uncomfortable sometimes? How's your family life? Could it be cleaned up a little bit? Does it look like a swamp? Is your ship sinking in? It's okay. If life resembles Dagobah more than it should, more than a shiny new city, that's okay. Because where we find the strength of God provided for us is in those swampy areas. In the places that are hardest for us to believe that God is going to make a difference, that's where we need to believe in God the most, because he will make a difference. And God does care about the issues you are facing, whether they're small like a boulder or as big as an X-wing. God can move your obstacles. You just need to believe in him. Because if you don't believe in him, then you are destined to fail and be stuck in that swamp. Jake Olson, I don't know if you've heard of him before. He's definitely circulated in the news for the last week, so maybe you have heard of him. He was born with a rare form of cancer called retinoblastoma. If I mispronounce that, I have no medical background. Talk to my wife. It claimed the sight of his left eye at 10 months old, and then he lost the sight in his right eye at 12 years old. Okay? So he's been blind now for about 10 years. But he says in a news article that I read, he says that he's discovered a different type of vision in his blindness. A vision to attack life rather than let his hardship, his cancer, define what his life would be like. Rather than letting his blindness change his life, Olson started to be a motivational speaker mere months after he lost the vision in his right eye at age 12. And he's been extremely successful in being a motivational speaker since the age of 12. But maybe you haven't heard of him because of that, and maybe you haven't heard of him for the fact that he started his own business with his roommate at USC. Jake also plays football. He's number 61 in this picture, okay? He's a long snapper for USC because he didn't let the swamp that he was in define who he was. He learned and moved the X-wing in his path so that he could accomplish what he wanted to do. So we're going to watch a short video.
USC has a blind snapper, and his name is Jake Olson. And there may be some communication going on right now between the USC and Western Michigan coaches to alert them that the Trojans are about to put him in to snap this extra point. And he snaps some kicks at USC spring games, but he's never done this in a live football game. So here he is.
So Jake Olson, how about this for an inspirational moment? He is out there snapping. And a good snap from Jake. Listen to the crowd. Look at the USC sideline. What a moment. Look at the excitement right there from Jake Olson.
All right, so we see here this video, and it's hard not to feel inspired by that. And maybe sports isn't your thing. You can still feel inspiration from that. Maybe Star Wars isn't your thing, and if that's the case, maybe the sermon hasn't been your thing. But hopefully you still can hear the message that God is trying to communicate to you today. With God as your ally, any obstacles are able that you face are just that. They're obstacles, okay? And they can be moved. For the end of this year and into next year, for this school year, for this season, do not try. Do or do not. For there is no try. Trying is non-committal. Trying is only for a little while. It isn't a standard that has to be met or held to. It's simply an attempt and then moving on. So do not try to come to Bible class. Do not try to come to church. Do or do not, and deal with the consequences of your decision, good or bad. Be an active member of the church, or do not, and deal with the consequences of your decision, either good or bad. And I hope by you being here today, that shows that you are doing, not just trying. But don't live under the impression that God will bless you with a try attitude. Revelation 3:15 through 16 states this clearly. I know your works. You are neither hot or cold nor hot. Would that you were either cold or hot. So because you are lukewarm and neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. Jesus desires to know where you stand. Hot or cold, do or do not. But no try. God can work with do, and he can work with do not. He cannot work with try. So what are you trying right now? If you're trying God, examine your heart. Or as the Jedi say, search your feelings. Do not try, do or do not. There is no try. Our God can do great things. He can save anyone because his power is that great. He can be your refuge. He can move the obstacles in your swamp. He can get you out. So invest in him. Get all in, because that is the only way to find God in the swamp and learn from him. Do not try. Do or do not. This morning, if you need prayers of the church, if you find yourself in a swamp, if you've got obstacles facing, God is big enough to move those out of your life. All you need to do is come to him and believe in his power.